All right, folks, happy Thursday. This is Mr. Miller here. I don't know who else it would be, but it's me. Today is April 2nd. It's a crazy. We made it through March again, so I'm happy about that. So April 2nd here. Today we're going to finish up our notes on topic 14 here, so this will be good. We'll wrap it up today. A couple quick pieces of information, and I'll get this out of the way beforehand, and then we'll finish up the notes. So a couple quick pieces of information. Mr. Birmingham sent out an email to all of us, but then also I think he posted on the Facebook page something along the lines of the state of New York is requiring us to go to school next week. Go to school. I do air quotes because we're not really going to school, but they are expecting us to continue instruction next week as per a request from the governor, or I guess a mandate from the governor. So essentially what that means for us is next week was supposed to be our spring break. We do not get that anymore because of the whole situation. We get that kind of gone. So I understand that is difficult to hear. I myself agree it is difficult to hear. However, that's the rule and we got to go by it. So my plan for next week is going to be kind of I don't know, it's something that you could do at a different point if you wanted to, but you could also do it next week and get it over with. My thought is going to be, it's going to be based on a DBQ from a Regents exam. I've yet to make it up. I will post it tomorrow. So I will share it with you tomorrow. I'll give an outline of it tomorrow. So I would check back in for that video tomorrow. There's not going to be any notes, not going to be any new activity tomorrow. It's just going to be finish up what we've done this week and catch up. But I will at least explain the activity tomorrow, and then I will check back in at a couple points next week to make sure that people are kind of checking in, or I guess if they wanted to work on it. It's going to be a DBQ. There will be basically, I'll put this in Google Forms. I'll basically make 3 different, or probably 4 different Google Forms. Each one of them is going to be a separate set of, I believe, 3 documents. Again, I've not made it yet, but it's going to be documents 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. There might be A documents and B documents, so there might be more than 3, but there would only be 4 maybe in there. So there will be 3 documents, and each one will have questions to answer for each document, like the normal scaffolding questions that you usually do. I guess I don't actually need this thing on here right now. I'll take it off, and then you can see my full screen here. So I'll put that back up in a second when we get into our notes. So you will have 3 documents, and you got to answer questions. Okay, there will be 3 of those, so 3 sets of 3 documents. Usually in a DBQ, there's 3 sets of 3 documents, so that'll be what it is. All this will be in Google Forms. I will take screenshots of the documents and post them as the question or whatever it is. I'll do it that way. So you can kind of you just basically go through the Google form. You can do these all at one time. You can do them all at different times, different days. Basically, I'll split them up into 3, so that way if you don't do them all, you can do one set and leave it there, or do another set and do 2 sets in a day and leave it there. At the very end, I'm going to ask you to pick one of the sets of documents, set A, set B, set C, whatever it is. And again, all this will make more sense when I post it tomorrow. But choose one of the sets of the documents and write just a 1-paragraph response addressing those documents based on a question that is there. So you just need to write 1 paragraph. It's like you're writing 1 body paragraph without the rest of the essay in a DBQ. So it should be pretty straightforward to kind of make sense of that. And then that'll be submitted on Google Forms as well. So I will basically post the question, the prompt, and you just need to type in your response and submit it that way. So everything will be done on Google Forms. Again, I'm understanding the fact that people need a break. I need a break. We all need a break, okay? So I will post these things, and I will, if you want to go a little slower next week, I will post them and they will not be due until the following Saturday. So they will be due. Let me see what my schedule, what my calendar looks like. They'll be due on the 18th of April. Okay, so you'll have basically 2 full weeks to do these. So I'll assign them next week, and you should work on them next week. But if you don't, it's probably not going to be the end of the world as long as they're turned in by the 18th of April. Okay, so you get 2 full weeks to work on this stuff. So again, that's kind of my way of giving you stuff to do and making it so that we are still advancing because that next week we'll still be doing stuff. But if you have other things that you're worried about or working on, by all means, do mine, when you can. So I think that makes sense. Hopefully it does. If anybody has any specific questions on that, I would email me. You could email me, but then also just wait until tomorrow and see what I say. Okay, because I should have everything figured out by then with what this is going to look like. So that's the first piece of information. Second piece of second. I guess I could use my other hand. Second piece of information is regarding the Regents exam. The information regarding the Regents exam is that there is no new information about the Regents exam yet. I have no idea what is going to happen. A lot of people are questioning what's going to happen with this Regents exam. To my understanding, the state of New York is supposed to come out with an update today, or no, not today. Yesterday they came out with something. I have yet to, as I'm making this video on Wednesday, because I make these videos a day in advance, I've not seen that video. I've not seen that information yet. I will update you guys as I can. If that means an extra video posted here, it might mean that. If I see the information and I post the video later today, I might do that. If I see information, I'll just share it with you guys so you guys can get it tomorrow. I don't know what the information is going to be. I don't even know if there's going to be an announcement. There was supposed to be, but I don't know. So long story short, no news on the Regents exam. So there will be new. I will share the news when I get it for you. Okay, I think that's all I've got for you by way of announcements. Again, if you have any concerns or questions, contact me. I'm available. Okay, I'm just basically waiting here for somebody to reach out to me. So please do so. I've got a couple people who email me frequently, and I appreciate those people because I hear from them a lot. If you've not reached out to me, shoot me an email. Let me know how things are going. Whatever. So that's all I got for you. So we are wrapping up this topic 14 notes. We have only 3 notes points to go. So we will finish those up today and be done with it. I will post an essential question for you to respond to at the end of this. At least one. I'm not sure yet. I've not created it yet. I'm sorry for the yawns. I apologize. I gave you like 3 yawns yesterday. I'm sorry about that. I did not intend to do that. They're involuntary. It just happens. I don't know what to say. So number 22 here, we need to talk about the atomic bombs. Okay, we had left off talking about the firebombing of Japan, firebombing of Tokyo, the island hopping leading up to the Pacific, leading up in the Pacific Ocean up to Japan. So with all that in mind, we come to a point here where Japan is not surrendered yet. We have not been able to get on the mainland of Japan. We kind of are faced with two options. We have been developing an atomic bomb over the course of this war. Okay, basically an atomic bomb, it functions, as you probably know, functions by splitting atoms apart, and these atoms are highly reactive. They are unstable. We're talking like uranium, plutonium. Okay, we're not talking about oxygen in terms of an element. We are talking about radioactive, these elements that are very, very unstable. So when you split one of these atoms, a big thing happens, okay? A big explosion happens, basically. So we have a project, the Manhattan Project. It's a code name. That is our code name for our project that we have created these atomic bombs during the middle of this war. There's smarter people than a lot of the population of America that are involved in this thing. The smartest minds, the brightest physicists, physicists. That's it. People who practice or do physics, chemistry, all that stuff. Those are the people who are involved in this Manhattan Project. We get a test of an atomic bomb that is in the middle of 1945, and the test is successful. It is a very, very powerful weapon. And so at what is it called? I think it's Potsdam. Yeah, at Potsdam. I was blanking on the name. So at Potsdam, we have Harry Truman finds out, as I said yesterday, that we can use an atomic bomb, and the test was successful. So now we have a decision to make. Like I said, we have two choices. Okay, one choice is invade Japan, launch a full-scale invasion of Japan. They have not surrendered. We've taken over Iwo Jima, we've taken over Okinawa, we've taken over these areas leading up to Japan. We have been firebombing Tokyo. Hundreds of thousands of Japanese people have lost their lives through this, and they have not surrendered yet. Okay, so we launch a full-scale invasion, or we could launch a full-scale invasion of Japan. The questions may be, how many Americans does that take? People were saying, okay, maybe 1 million, maybe 2 million, 3 million soldiers to launch an invasion of Japan. How many people would die in this? The death counts in some estimations were up to 1 million American lives that would be lost. 1 million American lives. That was the highest estimates at the time. So the other option is, and that's saying, oh, we still don't know if they would surrender, because again, the death before dishonor idea. Okay, the Japanese might not surrender. So that leaves us with our other option, which is, oh, well, let's make a couple nuclear bombs, a couple atomic bombs, and drop them on Japan and try to force them to surrender. Okay, so that's ultimately what decision we take. Okay, we say, okay, well, if this doesn't work, if these atomic bombs blow up and they still don't surrender, then we invade. Okay, so either way, we're trying to save American lives. That was Harry Truman's big idea. The main goal here also to show our strength. If we have a bomb that is the most powerful weapon ever used in the world, and we have more than one of them, and we're the only ones who have those capabilities, that's a big show of strength, okay, as a country. So the goal here, show strength, force surrender, save American lives. So we've got 2 bombs, and these bombs are dropped on two cities in Japan. First one is Hiroshima, or Hiroshima, depending on how you pronounce it, depending on where the emphasis is. I usually just go with Hiroshima. And the other one is Nagasaki. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So you can copy those down there. I'm going to flip back to the screen there, so pause if you need to. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The first bomb that was dropped here, I just looked this up and I forgot. There's 2 bombs. One of them is called Fat Man. The other one is called Little Boy. I believe Fat Man is the bottom one here. This one was the one dropped on Nagasaki. Hiroshima was August 6th. August 6th, 1945, we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. It was something like 130,000 casualties, 130,000 casualties in Hiroshima. 3 days later, okay, Japan did not surrender. 3 days later, we drop this second bomb on Nagasaki, August 9th. And that one was, give or take, 70,000 casualties. So the number here between these 2 bombs was about 200,000 total casualties between these 2 cities, just in the course of 3 days. Basically, how these bombs work, and you might know this, but let me get my hand so I can illustrate here. Basically, how these bombs work is they're launched, or they're dropped from an airplane, and they detonate before they hit the ground. Okay, if they are to hit the ground and blow up a lot of the force from this explosion just basically goes straight into the ground, but then outwards a little bit. So the force is not the greatest. Basically, what they would do is they figured out the best way to have the most amount of damage for these things or with these things. They dropped the bombs a few thousand feet in the air. I think it was definitely in the air. So when the bomb explodes, it basically pushes the force downwards and then outwards. So it's not straight down into the ground. It was kind of a downward slope sort of thing, and then it just continues out along the city. Basically, the safest spot to be if they had buildings in. I think do I have a picture of this? I don't know if I do. Oh, there you go. Okay, so I've got a couple pictures of this. Oh, here's pictures of the mushroom clouds. Okay, so you can see those. The classic mushroom clouds from these atomic bombs. But the safest spot to be, you see here, there's buildings that are still standing. Oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. Duh. Let me go back to the mushroom clouds because I got to show you those. This is funny. This is good. So here's the mushroom clouds. Look at the mushroom clouds. Okay. So you see here, there's some buildings that are still standing. These buildings that are still standing would be at a place called Ground Zero, a place that was right below where the bomb was dropped, because that was again, the force goes outwards from there. So any buildings that are still standing are able to survive, really. And so it wipes out buildings outside. And you can see here, this is just like a barren wasteland that is going on here. There were stories of, and one of the things with these atomic bombs, the flash of light that happens because of it is so bright. And this is a very, very horrific picture here. This is somebody's shadow that was burned into these steps. These would be like marble or granite steps, probably marble. And so somebody was standing here at the base of these steps, and the light was so bright that it burned all of the area around this person. This person may or may not have been okay at the very beginning, but the light was so bright that it stained didn't stain, it washed out the marble surrounding it and burned shadow into the ground. So that's a sign of just exactly how brutal this is. Now, Japan ends up surrendering 6 days after the bomb drops on Nagasaki. August 15th, Japan surrenders. So World War II has ended. Okay. So Japan surrenders. This does force their hand a little bit here. Now, a couple things to mention after this war. Okay, a couple things, and then we'll be done. To start with, okay, the United Nations. The United Nations is created in another yawn. Sorry, I'm really sorry. The United Nations was created in April of 1945. 50 nations signed on at the very beginning, 50 countries, and very, very importantly, the United States is one of those. Okay, the United States jumps in the United Nations. They are a part of the United Nations. Remember, one of the major issues that was facing the previous body, which was called the League of Nations, one of the major issues here was that it didn't have widespread support. America never joined it. So it was kind of useless. It didn't really do anything. So this United Nations, America says, okay, we can no longer stand by and kind of take a passive role. We're not just gonna sit around in the world and let the world kind of fall apart again. We are going to take the leadership role in the world like the other countries are kind of asking us to do. And we are going to kind of, assure that this is not going to happen again. So this changes kind of a precedent here. Remember, our precedent was stay out of other people's business. Okay, this United Nations is kind of the first step in us breaking that precedent and taking our role as a world leader a little bit more seriously here. Now, the United Nations, a sign of this, it is centered in New York City. So New York City, the United Nations is still there today. So the United Nations is a little bit more popular. at this point. I guess I should not go on to the next one yet. So we got to talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This was one of the first measures adopted by the United Nations shortly after World War II, just a couple years after. They end up advocating for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Basically what this does, it outlaws slavery, outlaws torture, guarantees freedom of speech, freedom of religion. The idea is just to guarantee basic human rights to everybody. Another yawn, I'm sorry. It's not coronavirus, I promise. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, preserving rights for people who might not have them. So basically everybody who's in the United Nations is going to be signing on to this pledge, basically. Also, a thing that we need to mention that I'm sure Mr. Shamel talked about last year that you had in Global, the Nuremberg trials, okay, the Nuremberg trials. The Nuremberg trials were a set of war trials that put the German military figures on trial. Anybody who was still alive, Adolf Hitler had obviously died. Like I said, he's not around in Argentina. He died. The Nuremberg trials put these people on trial, hold them accountable for their war crimes. In Global, you probably learned that I was just following orders. Quote, I was just following orders is not a viable defense. It is not something that can allow you to commit horrible atrocities. So these people are prosecuted, and many of them are either put to death by hanging or put in jail for basically the rest of their lives. So the Nuremberg trials, it is kind of a time for the world to hold the Nazi party accountable for what they did with the Holocaust, but also other things. Now, let's move on. Last thing. Okay, the impact of the war on America. Okay, America embracing our role as a world leader. Like I said, we're taking on a spot in the United Nations, taking on a leadership role in the United Nations. We are really not going to stand by and allow other countries to kind of push us around, but other countries to decide things without us being there. So we are taking an active role in world affairs, and that's kind of one of the main ideas there. Also, the Great Depression is kind of over at this point. The unemployment rate in America dropped down to like 0.5% during the middle of this war, 0.5%. So that means basically everybody's got a job and there's no open jobs. And I mean, there might be more jobs than we actually have people in that case. So there's a lot of job openings. Now, so Great Depression goes over, 1940s and the 1950s, into the 1960s as well, kind of turn into a prosperity time, good time period to be alive for most Americans from their perspective. So it's an era of prosperity. Now, the final thing that I got to say, there's a propaganda poster there. Americans will always fight for liberty. That is kind of a poster, it's just saying Americans will always be there when we are trying to preserve people's rights. The first number there, 1778, that's in the middle of the Revolutionary War. And then 1943, that is the middle of the World War II. So we are going to be there. We are going to step up, and we are going to be a part of this war and always be there to fight for liberty. Now, as you can see, we've got a blank slide. That means I'm done. Okay, so that is the end of this topic. I will post the master notes in this video or along with this video. So if you have those, have the need to look back at those, you can do so. Again, tomorrow we will be offering a catch-up day. Okay, catch-up day. That will be a day where you can basically just spend your time going through those essential questions or doing anything that you need to do to make sure that you're all caught up, making sure that you've watched all these videos and whatnot. And then I will also offer some better guidance on what we are going to do tomorrow, next week. So that will be tomorrow, and hopefully some information about the regions. So that'll be tomorrow. That's all I got for you today. Take it easy, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you back here tomorrow. Day number 18 coming at you tomorrow. See you then.